Today, I will be ranking Alice in Chains albums from worst to best. Since they don't have a terrible album, the lowest tier is decent, which is, I guess you could say, it's like C tier. And then there's good, which is B tier, great, which is A tier, and Alice in Chains is S tier. The reason why I renamed them is because, well, they don't have a bad album. And Alice in Chains tier is pretty much like their prime. So I'm just gonna call it Alice in Chains tier, because that's peak Alice in Chains. So this is probably my favorite grunge band, so let's get started. First album is their debut album, Facelift. It is my personal favorite album by Alice in Chains. It has great songs in here like Love Hate Love, Sea of Sorrow, Man in the Box is on this album, We Die Young. Really great album, and it's one of the best debut albums of all time. It is the best grunge debut album of all time. Lane Staley was a great vocalist and really made for a great band. Next album, we have Dirt. In my opinion, Dirt is also an Alice in Chains tier album. It's not as good as Facelift in my opinion, but it has great songs on here like Rooster. It was a great follow-up to their debut, and the band, it was like the prime of the band, I'd have to say, and more people know the songs off of this album than they do on Facelift, I think. I mean, both of the albums are like arguable, and I can understand that Dirt is some people's favorite, but Facelift is my favorite. So it rightfully deserves Alice in Chains tier next to Facelift. Next we have Sap. Sap is in good tier. It's not great and it's not mid either. It is a good album. It's mainly an EP. It's not even a full-length album. It's one of the weaker albums with Lane Staley. It's honestly my least favorite with Lane Staley, but it's not a bad album by any means. It's really well put together, and of course it's an EP, so it's pretty short, and it's not full length. Next we have another EP, and it is an Alice in Chains tier. This is also a perfect album by the band. This is also peak era for Lane Staley. Great songs, Nutshell, Raw Apples. Very good album, even though it's also an EP. I really love the cover art on this. And yeah. Next we have their self-titled. Alice in Chains goes in great tier, I feel. The reason why it's in great tier and not Alice in Chains tier is because it gets a little boring at times, and I think it's their longest album. I think. But yeah, it's a great album. And it gets kind of boring for some songs, but they also have really good songs in here as well. Like Frogs and Sludge Factory. Really great songs on here. The Jerry Cantrell lead vocal songs are also really great songs, and I think that he is also a great vocalist. Lane Staley is better, but his solo stuff is really good. And yeah, next we have another S tier album. This is my second favorite MTV Unplugged album. The best is Nirvana's MTV Unplugged, in my opinion, but this is the second best. Really great recorded songs in here. This is when MTV was actually good. And another prime tier. We are moving on to the William DuVall era. Obviously, Lane Staley is better. It's not even a debate. But he has all of the albums by William DuVall are not going to be higher than good. So first we have Black Gives Way to Blue. This is my second favorite William DuVall album. I think it is a good album. It's not mid and decent tier. I think it's rightfully in B tier, and I don't think it'll ever go higher than that. Next we have Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. This is a decent album. This is my least favorite album by the band and William DuVall. I think it is the weakest in the discography. Most of the songs are pretty boring, and there's not really any highs on this album either. But since Jerry is a great guitarist, it isn't worse than decent tier, and it might never enter good tier in my opinion, aka B tier, but it's still a good album, but it's literally super weak compared to every other one. Lastly, we have Rainier Fog. Rainier Fog is my favorite album by William DuVall, and it is a good tier album. It might be better than Sap in my opinion, but right now it isn't, because Lane Staley was such a powerhouse and just a great vocalist that it's very hard to even compare William DuVall, like I said earlier. So maybe one day I'll like Rainier Fog better than Sap, but right now Sap is better. And maybe if they make a new album by William DuVall, I will follow this video up with like an updated ranking whenever that comes out. But Jerry's doing more like solo stuff now. So this has been my Alice in Chains ranking for the entire discography. S tier albums are Facelift, Dirt, Jar of Flies, and Unplugged. Great tier albums, aka A tier albums, are they're self-titled. Good, Sap, Rainier Fog, Black Gives Way to Blue, and decent is Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. Goodbye.